Okay, this is a quick video on the topics that you needed to know in the Form 2 2D and 3D geometry unit. So the first thing that you need to know is what perimeter is and what it means. So the perimeter of a shape is just the length all around the outside. So for example, if I had a rectangle that had this shape and I said that this length was 3 centimeters, this length was 5 centimeters. The perimeter of that shape is just the distance. If we start at one corner and I were to walk the whole way around that shape, it's that total length I would walk to get back to the start. So the perimeter of this shape, it would simply be 3 plus 5. This side's 3, this side's 5. Going back up this side, that's another 3 centimeters. And then back across the top, that's another 5 centimeters. So that gives me 16 centimeters. And that's all perimeter is. We just count all the sides, add up all the sides around the shape to get the total perimeter. The next topic that we needed to do was the area of some shapes. Now there are some formulas for areas of different shapes and you need to know most of these and remember them. So the first one is a rectangle. So if you have any rectangle, to work out the area, it's simply I call it base times height, sometimes it's called length times width, it doesn't matter, but for a rectangle, area is simply equal to the base times the height, and the area is how much space the shape takes up inside it, and that one's always measured in units squared. So if, for example, we were doing the area of the question above, the area of that shape would be 3 times 5, that's 15 centimetres squared, or square centimetres. So that's a rectangle, you need to know that one. Similarly, if we want to do the area of a triangle, if I have a triangle, if this length is the base and this is at right angles, so the base and the height are at right angles to each other, they're perpendicular. So the area of that shape is equal to the base times the height divided by 2. So if it's a triangle you're working out, you do base times height divided by 2. And just be careful, sometimes the triangles don't look like this with a nice right angle. The same thing would happen if I had a triangle like this, but this length would be the base, and the height is the distance from here to here. That is my height of the triangle, but I do the same, base times height divided by 2 to get the area of that shape. The other shape that you needed to do was a trapezium. Now the formula for area of a trapezium is given to you. It was given to you in the test. It's given to you on GCSE exams and things. The formula for any trapezium is if this length is A and this length is B. So in a trapezium you've got one set of parallel sides. So those two parallel sides are A and B. And then this distance between them at right angles is your height, or h. And the formula is area equals a half times a plus b times h. So if we just do a quick example of this one, if I have some measurements, so if I had a trapezium where this length was 5 centimetres, this length was 9 centimetres, and this height was 4 centimetres, the area would be, so following that above, a half a plus b, that's these two parallel sides, that's 5 plus 9. I'm timesing by the height, the distance between them, which is 4. So thinking of BODMAS, we do the brackets first, so that's 5 add 9, that's 14. So I've got a half of 14 times 4. A half of 14 is 7, times by 4 is 28 centimetres squared for my area of a trapezium. The other shape you need to know something about was circles. So with a circle you do need to learn these formulae. So in a circle, sorry it's not the neatest, but in a circle you've got this length right through the centre, which is called the diameter, or D, and you've got the distance from the centre out, which is the radius, or R. And you did some investigations on finding these formulas. I know you've covered some of these before, but in a circle, this distance around the outside isn't called perimeter, it's called circumference, but it's the same thing, it's just got a special name. So the circumference of a circle equals pi d, and the area of a circle is pi times r squared for that one. And those are all the areas that you needed to do all of these questions. The only other thing you needed to know was volume. So the volume of a prism. So all the shapes you get are prisms. So they all have the same cross section. So a prism is a shape that has the same cross section the whole way through. So it could be like a cuboid, because that's just a rectangular prism. It could be something a little bit more challenging. Let's imagine it's a cuboid. The volume is simply the area of the cross section, so the area of kind of the front face multiplied by how far that goes back, which we call the length. So for this one, the volume is equal to the area of, we call it the cross section, or the cross-sectional area, multiplied by the length. So the only formula you need to know here are the same as the area ones. So if, for example, I gave you a triangle and I told you that this distance was 6 centimetres, this height was 5 centimetres, and the length going back is, let's say, 7 centimetres. So my cross section here is this little triangle here at the front, isn't it? So if I have this little triangle here, I'll do it so that we don't get rid of the number. So that's my cross section. So the first thing I need to work out is the area of that first bit. So the area of the cross section, which is a triangle. So let's work out the area of a triangle. So we know from above that area of the triangle is base times height divided by 2. So 6 times 5 is 30, divided by 2 is 15 centimetres squared. That's the area of that front face I've coloured in. Then the volume is simply that area multiplied by the length that goes back, which is 7. So on my calculator I'm going to do 15 times 7, which is 105. And for a volume, the units are centimetres cubed. So that volume is 105 centimetres cubed.